Welcome everybody. This is Rev Games. What we're going to be doing today is some Panda Burn gameplay. I am making the rounds on all different types of decks in Goat and Edison. My real theory with this is it's better to get competent at a bunch of decks than it is to try hard and narrowly focus on just one like Chaos Turbo. And I think that really helps you become a better player. This is something I learned back when I played Hearthstone. Um, I would, within budgetary constraints, just because you don't have access to a full collection, play a variety of different decks. And I noticed I was able to play way, way more effectively against the decks that I had played than those that I hadn't, just because you understand choke points on when to interrupt combos, what not to let happen, what and when bluffs occur, scarcity of resources, and when to make aggressive pushes a lot more when you have experience playing the deck that you're trying to overcome. So I really do want to get good with, well, I won't say good, I just want to understand the inner workings of most decks with Goat and Edison. So for Goat, that's going to be the usual suspects like Panda Burn, Chaos Turbo, Goat Control, Chaos Control, Warrior, and I've made the rounds on a decent amount of those. I'm by no means a pro player on any of those, but I've definitely noticed, especially with playing against things like Warrior, just really what the weaknesses are of that deck. And it might sound obvious, but just knowing how important the battle phase is for something like that, and another limiting factor being things like normal summons for something like Warrior, and really how much they can output, with the caveat that premature burial and Call of the Haunted do exist. But this isn't my first game with Panda Burn. It is not either going to be my last. I just want to record some kind of raw gameplay, and as long as something doesn't horribly go wrong like a disconnect, really just take it from there. Now this list, I will say, might look a little bit odd. I did get some input on the Panda Burn, uh, sub server. What do you call it? Channel on the Goat format Discord, um, or the Goat format server. I'm mixing up all my terminology here, but this is just a first draft. I do want to experiment with, a bunch of different cards. I think really the flex stuff is, how many giant rats you run, how many koalas you run, whether or not you run this at all. This probably is a 0 of or a 1 of. Some people don't have breaker in the main from what I've seen. There's some other, spicier stuff in there, but I think those are the main flexes in um, the monster lineup. This is finding its way into the main just because I want to see whether or not it's worth a shit or not. 19 is a pretty decent breakpoint versus most decks. This also does have some synergy on slowing down upstart goblins and jar of greeds if they are not being activated in the draw phase. The other obvious synergies are being able to flip it up with ceasefire or desert sunlight when your opponent activates a draw effect. So, if you activate this or activate either of these with a face down protector of the sanctuary, chaining it to a pot of greed or graceful, that can very much so be game ending. And then the obvious, morphing jar plus protector of the sanctuary just pitches their hand and they just don't draw, which is insane. I don't expect to resolve that quite often. It's a 2-card combo that requires this to stick around, which inherently means you probably had to set it first and then setting this and then flipping it. So it's like a multiple turn setup. So that, unless you set them both in desert sunlight or something like that, that just seems very, very tough. The spell lineup I think is pretty standard. Again, I'm relatively uninformed on what's good or not. It seems like there's a bit of contention on whether or not Snatch Steal is worth playing in this type of deck just because you might be under a floodgate yourself. I just think Snatch Steal can be used, offensively not only to attack things, but offensively to just get something off the board as well. Like if there's just a spy blocking you or something in face-up attack position and you can just snatch it away, and that might be able to win you the game, or at least allow you to push for enough damage where you can finish them off in a turn or two with something like just desserts or secret barrel, taking into consideration how much they may gain from snatch steal. So I don't really know. I don't have much experience with this deck. Swords of Availing Light. This is another card that I've seen missing from some lists, which does surprise me. This just seems to have very obvious synergy with a triple Trunade type of deck like this. Is a good stall card, does allow you to reveal face downs, so I think that's important, especially with a deck that does require you to attack to win the game. I don't, I mean, you can, but I just don't think it's typically smart to just blindly attack into something that's set. This is going to flip things up, and it doesn't negate the effect or anything like that, but that is important. Uh, what I would consider core is 3 Just Desserts, 3 Ojama Trio, 3 Secret Barrel, Ring of Destruction. These are all flex cards here. I've seen lists with 0 Gravity Binds. A lot of them have 2, so I kind of just split the difference and went with 1. This is a flex spot. Um, I just Because we have synergy with some other things in our deck, it burns and it helps you versus Chaos Turbo, which is the most prevalent deck in the format. I think this seems theoretically pretty good. In practice, I'm not sure. Desert Sunlight, resolving either of the jars is probably a win. You can still lose depending on what the game state is, but somebody nobling you and you just flipping those up is really, really good. So I just think, even though it's you're not going to have that pairing all of the time, that just seems worth it to me. And lastly, Nightmare Wheel as a 2 of. This seems like something, again, some people either cut or play 2 of. I've even seen lists play 3. I think this, a lot of people talk about, it in comparison to Gravity Bind and whether or not there's, overlap with the Floodgates, which of course naturally there is, but one thing that I don't think is talked about enough is, this can be used defensively. Like when somebody is attacking you, you just activate it and you're not going to be able to attack, and you just burn them unless they remove it. But I think the other thing that's, I won't say more important, but very important, is the ability to use it on a set monster, especially versus something like Chaos Turbo. If you get a read that it's a Magician of Faith or whatever it might be, being able to just lock that face down at least for a few turns is potentially game winning. Just because from playing something like Reasoning Gate Turbo, you don't really care, over the course of a full game how much card advantage there is, but there are points in the game where you don't want to be very far behind on cards. Like if a turbo player is up like a bunch of cards on you, you're probably just going to lose because they're going to be able to out enough of your stuff and just kind of one for one you over and over again, and you're just never going to be able to get enough damage in. So you don't just want to let your opponent run away with resources, and I think this card delays that, albeit maybe not prevents it, but delays it long enough where you can secure the win. Just because with a deck like this, inherently you're going to win, and a lot of your wins, since I've played half a dozen games with this or something, a lot of your wins, you're going to, by the time you win, you're going to be very minus in terms of total cards that your opponent has, because you're going to be trinating stuff back to their hand. You're going to be, loading up their board with Ojama tokens, so they're not going to be able to spam monsters. You're going to be slowing them down with level limits. So you're almost always going to be minus cards just with the amount of inherent neg ones that you have. Like most of the cards are neg ones in this deck. So just something to consider with playing it. Lastly is the sideboard, which I would say is probably the most uninformed part of this list. I just kind of took a bunch of cards that I saw a bunch of good Panda Burn players playing and threw it in there. Um, Spy is, one of the best cards in the format. I'm just wondering, when that comes in. Maybe versus Warrior it comes in. I don't know if it would ever come in versus Turbo, but it can wall out. The problem that I have with Spy is that it cannot attack under a lot of your floodgates. So at least Koala does that. Giant Rat can't. Panda does that. I mean, you do need to attack with this deck. That's one of the really nice things about Cypher Soldier, which is that it's already very good versus Warrior, but it can attack under floodgates. So, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing with the side, to be honest. This is, of course, going to be coming in versus Turbo, Warrior, Rescue Cat, or Steingate, or not Stein Gate, like Reasoning Gate, whatever it might be. I highly doubt this would ever come in versus Warrior. So we are going to clip this in a second and then just jump into the ladder. There are a few cards I actually do want to try, but one that I think is really interesting that people are experimenting with is Shield and Sword, which basically flips. Here, I'll pull it up. Flips the attack and defense of all face-up monsters on the field. So if you take a look at most of your monsters, I mean, look at this guy. The defense is higher than the attack, and happenstance that the defense is lower than the attack for most of the stuff that is played in the meta. And that's normally by nature, but it also depends on whether or not it's an attack or defense position, because you might be attacking into it with Yaku, your Panda. My biggest question with this card would be if you're going to be able to attack with enough stuff in your deck to make this work. I mean, this could just be a straight up OTK. It makes your Yaku Gear Pandas 800 bigger, and it's probably going to trim 500 to 1,000 off the defense of most defense position monsters. And Ojama Trio does have 1,000 defense, so that just makes it 1,800 stronger, which is it's a lot of damage for one card. Despite that being situational, it makes Injection Fairy Lily 1,100 bigger, this 700 bigger. The one thing that I'm unsure of whether or not it's good or not is just if with some of this other stuff you're going to be able to attack under floodgates enough. Just because it's good with the stuff that does attack, but I just don't know if it's worth a spot in the deck yet. Just because there's so much stuff in your deck that on average is not going to be able to attack. So that is all there is to it. I'm going to clip it here. We're going to jump in ladder, and hopefully we don't get a dickhead. Hopefully we get somebody that can play quickly, and lastly, hopefully Dueling Book doesn't freeze out on us, but that's a tall order, so I'll see you in a second. We back. So we're just going to jump in the pool here, and really this is much more of a learning experience for me. So if you do see something that you would have done differently, um, let me know politely in the comments. It's very helpful for me to learn. I will say though, like certain feedback, just because the outcome of something, happened a certain way doesn't necessarily mean it's a misplay. So if there's like a guaranteed, technical misplay, I would definitely appreciate some input on that. But a lot of people have habits of critiquing something that very obviously you couldn't have known at the time of making a play. But let's focus back in here. So this is IFL. I'm wondering if this is going to be a mirror situation, in which case I don't think this is going to get much good use. Just because we're going to floodgate each other. Maybe it was worth... It's fine. Maybe it was worth waiting, like, if he had a Nightmare Wheel. So Book of Moon actually makes me think that this is not a mirror match, and that it may be something like Earth Aggro. I don't mind this hand, though. We are going to not preemptively Nightmare Wheel this, just because I'm totally fine with him paying 2,000 to trample this. Okay. We are... Let's think about that. That stinks. I'm not wasting this on that. We're gonna put it on that though, and it does stay on that even if he flips it over. See, with Cyberjar, here's the thing. If we force him to keep paying 2,000 over and over again, I don't think that's good. The other thing I'm thinking, I mean, we're gonna flip this and attack with Gyakugir Panda for sure, one of the tokens, but what I'm considering is Cyberjar, definitely, destroys our token. I think this is pretty obvious what we're doing here. Like, I don't think there's really any question. That's going to leave him with 3 tokens, or 2 tokens and that rather, so I don't think we're setting this yet. This is at 2800, right? We've got to learn the math of this deck. So he takes 21. Yeah. I just wonder, like, at what point we would force attacks, force payment for that. So what he's probably going to do is Suki, flip that, but he's not going to be able to switch it. So he probably won't do that, actually. Because my understanding is that Suki will override this. I'm nearly certain of that. So, yeah, we don't really have... Like, this hand is a little bit... Like, this is good. I like having this in hand. I'm just concerned on what the probability is we actually resolve it. Like, this isn't very good right now. This isn't either. So this is... I won't call it, like, a bricky hand, but definitely would not call it good. These are beasts, right? This is a beast, too. Ouch. So this, would be good to have set right now, but I still think, yeah, I still think that in hindsight we made the right play just because he had no back row at that point, and getting heavied without being able to chain this, I think, is unequivocally game losing. So bringing back Breaker isn't really good here. What I'm thinking is if we... I think I know what the play is, which is if we bring back Breaker and I guess it could be Panda too, because Panda would be at 1800, so that's still probably better. But if we bring back Panda, and he'll want to get that off the board more with Premature and attack into this, I think he will pay the 2k, and then we can just desserts Ojama Trio for a game. And I think we want to end this as quickly as possible before back row removal comes in. So okay. So I think we should be winning unless, so this was at 18, he's at 34, so we take 16. I'm worried that that could be like Mystical Space Typhoon or something. I do think if it is, he'd probably save it for this, so let's just hope we don't get end phase spaced here. And we are going to set the Cyber Jar kind of as an insurance policy. I don't really think there's any reason not to. Fuck. Oh my god, main deck decree. Yeah, so this is a lost cause. We're done. Okay. That's good. Um Reaper, Ashura, GC, heavy. He has heavy. Meta. Reap. Asura. What did we get? This is not good, dude. So we want this to resolve. Actually, no. We're bringing this to the hand because we don't want him to know which is which. I don't care at all about discarding any of this. Because we need heavy storm and we need, oh wait, this is gone, right? Yeah, that's gone. Although it's negated actually. No. Yeah, so it's not gone. So heavy, graceful charity, which you just use, meta, which is useless, Asura, which is fine. We're gonna get BLS. This seems like very bread and butter goat control or something, which is good considering he may have scapegoats, but he hasn't activated any, and we have to game game one Royal Decree is really really tough. Oh, that sucks. I mean, maybe we can like, could we ever like just beat over him? Like if we can get past the swords. Uh, Metaverse Spirit Reaper. Oh wait, is that after it resolves? He might be right. I think that works. Let me look it up real quick. Because I think it has to resolve, so he can tribute it. Um, yeah. I think it's fine. Yeah, it works because it needs to be on resolution. Maybe that's not clear that what I mean by it works. Hopefully he. What I'm saying here is that he can meta. Okay, so he gets it. That was my premonition because it does say explicitly here that after resolving. It's just kind of hard because I don't know if I'm looking at like an old card text or what the rulings were at the time that this game was released. Um, hmm. I'm wondering if we ever play a Swords of Revealing Light. Because him attacking into this, like, he's at 2000 now. We can set this. I don't think there's any situation where we're ever setting any of this other stuff. Because it's not certain whether or not we're going to be able to get past Royal Decree. So I think it's okay to pitch these because especially if we play this and then set something, we cannot board lock ourselves. So yeah, using a normal summon on this, I don't know if that's good or not. We're gonna find out. There's the true nade. So I think this should just be like, I don't think there's a way to lose this now because we're just gonna true nade and then we can just win. I don't think there's any way for him to stop it because he can't like act. Well, he could activate a counter trap, but he can't resolve one. Alright, so this should be in the books. I guess the other thing is like making sure we order it. So you have to do like, you want this basically to be um, the you want this to have resolved since the chain resolves backwards. Like you want Ojomatrios to try to think of the best way to explain this. Um, if you activate Ojomatrio, you want to activate Ojomatrio last since the chain resolves backwards. So you would go 1, 2, 3, chain resolves backwards, Ojomatrio, this, basically. Kind of what I'm getting at. Okay, that's fine. Oh. We're gonna activate this. So we have goats. I'm surprised we won versus a royal decree. So we saw a lot of set monsters. We saw Magician of Faiths. It is goat control, so he's going to be setting enough naturally. We need to trim down the trap lineup, obviously. He's probably going to be stealing a bunch of our stuff, so I think having more bluffs. I think we go more monster heavy, less trap heavy. I don't think we can afford to like have Kaiku. Like he probably is running one chaos monster. And there is some stuff we probably are going to want to get out of the grave like a serpent, but I just don't think this is going to become relevant. This probably could combat like 1 or 2 things in his deck. It gets over BLS, but I just don't really think it's worth it. This is a must. I don't think these are worth bringing in at this point. He's running some flip stuff, but I think just spot removal is probably going to be, might feel fun to take a faith, but at least for this game too, I think this is what we gotta side. So we're going a little bit more monster heavy. None of this can come out in my opinion. These are all honestly quite good versus something that's playing goats. I think what's most likely to hurt us is the fancier stuff. I think it's all 5 of these, although he is running set stuff, but like any effect that we have to play into like a royal decree, this might not be as good versus goats actually, because he might just, I don't know if he's siding out goats or not. Let's try this. Just hope he's generous and plays goats for us. I think that might be wishful thinking. Any criticism or help with side decking would be greatly appreciated. I think my line of thinking is decent. Oh my god. Look at this hand. We are fucked. That's a decree. Have fun. Jesus. That's fucked up, dude. Alright, so I think we just kind of have to, like, let's take it 1 turn slower. Because if that's a decree, us setting everything and then setting Morphing Jar is more or less just the same thing as us waiting 1 more turn, I think. So let's set this and just see if he end phase decrees us. It gives him 1 more turn to draw it, which, oh fuck, and it's graceful. So now he has way more opportunities to draw it. Maybe giving him an extra turn was stupid, but I don't think we can. Yeah, that's gotta go. Is it decree? It's not decree. We fucked up. So let me know in the comments what you think. With the information we had at the time, not knowing there was a graceful enhance, should we have just full set this and played into the decree? But because that just seems so much more likely to be a decree right now. I highly doubt two sets are coming down without him end phase decreeing us. Oh fuck. That's fine. Um, that sucks. That's good. Yeah, not being able to resolve this is probably going to lose us the game. Under normal circumstances, I would have bluffed something for several turns. I just think with 4 traps in our starter, yeah, we're getting decreed. We got to activate this now. We just have to get the burn in. This is the only thing that was set. All right, I'm doing it on one chain and then a separate chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10. That's another 2,000. We have a surprising amount of damage. And this is slowing the game down enough for us where I think we might be able to win this. He's going to be able to stop an attack if we get a Panda. But I think the question at this point is if we're going to be able to wait long enough, or if he has a reset for this, to clear up. Fuck, he drew the reset. I don't know if that. I think he shuffled. I don't think that was off the top. Might have been. Oh, whoops. What's. What? Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, so this is a clock. This is a 6-turn clock. Okay. I don't think we can afford to have this get noblement, to be honest. Actually, I mean, he's just gonna take it. I'm just wondering how we get it in the grave. And I don't think there's any way for us to get it in the grave. I think we just have to set it and hope it finds its way into the grave if he resets it. Because if he takes it, then he has to reset his Suki. We still get the search. Or reset his Thousand Eyes with Suki. Yeah. I mean, it's fine for it to be at 0. I mean, every turn he's not attacking is fine. And this makes it so, okay, yeah, it's fine. I'm really not that upset about that. We just have to thin out and find something. Like what I'm thinking here is if he flips it back up, Snatch Steal doesn't really do anything, just because he can, because then we can't attack. Like, yeah, maybe we just lost anyway. I mean, Exile does kill this. I just don't know if we want to kill it. Am I not seeing a line here? Just because I don't think there's a way for us to resolve anything. Putting something on, yeah, let's just kill it. Because we're gonna eventually need to resolve something or attack with a Gyaku gear. Okay, so that's kind of what I was talking about. No problem, dude. Snatch does us no good here. Gyaku gear can't attack. This, I'm like, if I don't get Royal Decreed on either of these, I What's basically going to happen is we're going to be put in a situation where we just have to activate this just in case. But I would much rather wait for a Truenate if we can. This does open up the possibility that we can start taking more than 1100 damage per turn. The flip side of the coin is that if one of these gets cleared, we can try to Ojama Trio and then bait out the Decree at least, which I think is probably what we're going to want to do. Because I'd much rather see the Decree. Okay. So this puts us... Suki was a 5-turn clock. This is a 4-turn clock. So that's not fun. The thing is, our Snatch is live as well, but we have no use for it. I mean, we could Snatch, and what I'm thinking is we could Snatch and then try to Ojama Trio after we attempt to kill one of these. This shit's not attacking. Like, you can bet this shit is not attacking. Or the attack's not going through. So this is at 28. Yeah. Oh, dude, you know what I fucking should have done? I should have chained to that with just desserts. Because then he can't Royal Decree. I mean, he could, but then that negates his own Mirror Force. Or the other thing I could have done is just desserts and then bait out the Royal Decree, and then he can't stop the attack. Fuck. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. We did mess up, so we can't really blame anybody but ourselves. I'm just trying to figure out how dead we are. If there's a premature and then like pop this or something. But I think we're close enough where we might have to do some like super fancy shit with this next turn, or I think we're gonna have to play it like if we're dead, we are dead. Too bad type situation. Just take the higher risk play. It's a little bit unfortunate we haven't seen a single piece of spell and trap removal yet. It's a Borg. Okay. That is fine by me. Take 300. Doesn't he take... Is it destroyed, right? Didn't he destroy... Wait, was that a goat? Oh yeah, you're right, you're right. Let's see if this works. It's not going to. Okay, we lose. That's fine. So we did make a misplay. I just don't know if it would have mattered because it wouldn't have killed him. And we would have died next turn anyway. And I don't think Exiled Force would have done anything. We would have been able to clear DD Warrior Lady, but we had to pay 800 for it. And then he could have just BLS'd us anyway. Okay. We did draw like shit. I'm not making excuses for the misplays we made, but that's just about the worst we could have drawn conceivably with how we sided. I mean, we got very aggressive with siding out the amount of traps that we could, and we drew just a handful of traps and no bluffs to try to resolve jars. We got no spell and trap removal, so ouch. What we're going to do this turn, or this game, is set this. I don't see any real reason not to. And then we are going to end our turn. And I don't think we can activate heavy. See, this is unfortunate too. Like both turns he draws. Like I don't even think he's running a warrior package with Rotas. I don't think we've seen Rotas. And he gets the Mystic Swordsman. Oh my god, dude. Dude. Alright, so this is potentially a decent out. And if we are able to hit a decree here, then oh my god. It doesn't really do anything, but okay. So this was, I think, smart on his part. Our only play was to do this. I don't think that's a misplay just based on what we hit. But we get a walk out of the way, and this did effectively 2 for 1. We didn't hit um, a decree, but we do have a heavy storm. And I don't think there's, with how slow the game is shaping up to be so far, any real reason to level him at area B. I think we can get a little bit greedy, and we got punished. But he takes 2,000, so he is at 34. We were at 16. We take 18. Although no, we didn't get punished. This would have, I mean, this would have switched this to defense, but it still would have gotten attacked over. So, what's going to happen now is we're going to set ring. We're going to set Gardna, and if he attacks over it and pays to attack over it, that's fine. If he uses back row removal, that's fine. If we ring this and we just get it off at 400, that's fine. So, I mean, these aren't optimal uses of these cards, but I think it's good enough at this point. So, we are hitting Injection Fairy Lily, right? Because I don't think there's any real reason for us to... Yeah, like, we're hitting Injection Fairy Lily. That's fine. So we did bait out a Nobleman. He goes -1 on that. We go 1 for 1 on that. This game looks fine so far. It would have been nice to get some damage out of this, but... So this is the kind of situation where you think, like, Shield and Sword? Would that be good? I mean, what the fuck is going on? No back row so far? And we were getting all giddy about getting Heavy Storm. So Snatch, we can... Like, I don't think any of this is worth, like, attacking for. Like, switching this to face-up attack position, and, like, getting 17 in to only then give him 1,000 does not seem at all like a good play. I don't think he's going to attack into this and then try to attack over it. It just seems like him taking too much damage, so what might be worth doing is activating this and just hiding for a while and seeing if we can just like reset the board with this. I mean, we did. I can't imagine he runs that much back row removal. Really, the only thing that solves this is Nobleman. Okay. So this is good because we're blowing up that. We are blowing up that. This goes, which is fine, but I think this helps us a lot more than it helps him because we can follow up with a Panda. And this goes to grave. Oh, it was Sangan. That stinks. That's a little scary too. Oh, he is running Rhoda. Rhoda, Ring, Serp, Duo, Meta. And he's gonna get a search, so we'll have to see what that is. Oh shit. Um, do we just like fucking win? I think we just win, dude. We're going in, dude. We're going in. This is to hand. How much is this? Like, is that so? That's going in face down defense. We can panda over it. This is coming in attack. This is coming. Oh wait, they actually all go to defense. So, oh, let me get these to hand. Sorry, I fucked up. Maybe that's another misplay. I don't know if it's worth heavying first. It probably is. Is it though? Wait. No, 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 no. We fucked up. That's not the second panda. This was one in our hand. So, I don't think this is another thing I'd like your guys' input on is so he gets Rhoda, or I mean exiled. Jesus. So if it's ever worth heavying first, because heavy first means we don't know the outcome of the Cyber Jar though. The only thing we knew is that we had a Gyakugir Panda which could get in for damage, but he could have drawn a bunch of walls and stuff that we couldn't have gotten over. So, with the information we had, I think this might have been the right play. What might be spicy is Morphing Jar after prematuring. I'm just thinking here if we ever like go aggro on this fool. I got a tink tink tink. So I don't know if we want to put anything else in attack position here. Because BLS is not live, but getting in for another 800 here really worth it for board locking ourselves. My assumption is no. I don't think premature has any valid targets here or worthwhile targets. Okay, we're taking enough time. This guy's been pretty patient, which whoops, which is cool. This is at 13, right? He's at 25, so he takes 1050. Did any bluffs come down? I would say no, not with Breaker in the grave. Our biggest fright here is Heavy Storm, which, to be quite frank, I don't think we're super worried about. The one nice thing about this game so far is that we have drawn spells, and we have drawn, don't hit this please, and we have drawn monsters. Okay. So we are in a spot where we might be able to heavy, and then clear, and then Morphing Jar with premature. It depends on what he hits. He hits heavy. Okay. NBD. I think Panda goes. This can get that off the board at some point, or at least. Is this ever going to be good? Maybe. We already have a Panda, so I think we're pitching a Panda. We can always get it back if we really need it. Oh my god. I don't think we're ever getting greedy with premature. There's no reason to. We just win. And we are just get this off the board now. And I don't know if this is just insult to injury at this point. We already won, but I mean, we could have set this. That's obviously a misplay if we didn't already just win, but okay. So I think it's kind of good to have this in the archive. We made a lot of misplays, in my opinion, or at least I actually kind of do want to replay this, but I just want to add some commentary at the end here. So we did make a lot of misplays. Um, yeah, this Viking, if you're watching, it was fun playing against you. Thank you for being patient with me taking a while to play this deck. I think you played well too. I did just happen to draw a lot of very live stuff. How many traps were left in our deck? Shit. Dude, misclicking with this game for me? It's a nightmare. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did we count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, we didn't. Yeah, we're pretty dumb. But I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, there's like a lot of like weird sequencing things with this, especially with playing around Decree. I think that play I was referencing with trying to just desserts was correct. I'm unsure on whether or not we should have activated it preemptively to bait out the Royal Decree, or when we attacked, we should have chained to the Mirror Force to then try to bait out Royal Decree afterwards, because then it negates his Mirror Force. Either way, one of those was, I believe, the correct play. Now I'm forgetting all the misplays we had. I mean, obviously last turn, like setting these would have been correct, and then jarring. I think we knew he had duo as well. So is there something we could have done differently? I think we kept as much as we possibly could in our hand so that he wouldn't hit heavy or premature. We just happened to draw Trunade. Be interesting to see what was in his hand. He had a Karibo, which is interesting. Now I'm forgetting all the misplays. I mean, kind of where I'm going is it's good to have it in the archive so that I can rewatch this and see what some of the misplays are and learn from those mistakes. Another thing is for people that haven't played Panda Burn, learning from some of the mistakes that I have made. This, in relation to the beginning of the video with what we were talking about on not being able to attack, was pretty relevant, not for the reasons I talked about, that being floodgates, but we couldn't attack with anything that was stolen just because of Thousand Eyes, which was really rough. This, of course, earns its spot in the main. And thinking about this, I mean, we resolved a shit ton of jars this game. A shit ton. I think when you're up against something like Decree, and Decree isn't that prevalent in the main right now. Walks are still there a little bit, but I think Burn's getting extremely disrespected. I guess the other thing we were considering in some of the earlier games was whether or not to just attack into Injection Fairy Lily and have him just burn himself. Pardon me. But yeah, I just don't know if that's right. I think we made a few heads up plays, like baiting out back row removal, this being committed, which didn't he just play this? Yeah, like I don't understand what the point of him just summoning that turn one was. Because he set it behind a walk, right? Or he played it behind a walk. Especially because this can attack under level limits and stuff. Gravity bind. See, I'm not sure what the point of that was. But it was good to get that out of the way. And then I think we made the right play, despite it being relatively obvious, of setting this. And then trying to resolve a jar afterwards. The other thing that I think could have been a misplay, which I actually think, in retrospect, it probably was the right play, was we could have heavied our own level limit and then gone with Jar, and we could have won that turn, but heavying your own level limit is such a bad play most of the time that I just don't think, like, with the information that we had right now, that could ever possibly have been the right play, especially because there were no tokens on the board or anything. And really the only way that works is if we hit like another panda, which we did, and they hit like no monsters or like some really small stuff that we can trample with pandas, but I don't think he was low enough for us to win that. So yeah, in retrospect, we did make the right play. There's no way you heavy your own level limit. Like that would be absolutely stupid. It did end up working later on in the game because we had Shrunade. But thanks for watching, guys. That's going to be all there is for today. Feel free to drop some comments down there, some likes, some stubs, whatever you see fit. But for now, take it easy.